Hello and welcome to the Legislative Report. I'm Anthony Tezak. As we start this legislative session with an even larger Republican majority, the newest members are already hard at work. Joining me today to talk about this and other topics is State Representative Bernstine. This is your first term elected as a legislator. Can you give us a little background on yourself? What did you do before becoming an elected official, and what made you decide to run for office?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Appreciate the opportunity to sit here and discuss some important issues with you. So my background has been exclusively in the business world. I've not really been involved in politics previously at all. And I saw a direction in my district where we didn't necessarily have an advocate that was out there and pushing for some of the needs right here in the 10th district. So I saw that need, and that's really why I decided to jump in and run. So I'm an entrepreneur. We have several different companies that we've started, some different things in real estate. My wife and I, we also have a farm that we own and operate. And then I worked in the corporate world where I worked with very large organizations on human capital management needs.
So it sounds like you have a wide spectrum of experience.
Yeah, strictly in the business and the private sector, correct.
If you, with your experience and based on talking to your constituents when you were campaigning, if there's one legislation that you could guaranteed that it would be passed and sent to the governor's office for a signature, what would that law be?
Well, I'll give you a broader spectrum of what that would be. So it would really be about getting government off the backs of people in business. They feel that they're held back, and I always said, whenever I'd go out and talk to people, they don't just think the government's on their back. They think they're on their back and down their throat, and it's just very difficult to live your daily life when you have consistent overregulation. We need to work to repeal that and allow people to have those individual liberties and freedoms, as well as companies to have those individual liberties and freedoms in order to allow our economic environment to flourish.
You mentioned as far as government being a little bit overbearing, so I think that's a great way to get into our next topic, which is the state budget. Mm-hmm. And recently, the governor gave his budget proposal, and you were there on the floor for the first time as an elected official. Mm-hmm. What were your thoughts on just the ceremony and the session in general, and then the governor's remarks?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's a great honor to be there. I have 65,000 bosses at home that chose me and said that you're the person that we want to represent our interests, and I take that very, very seriously. The second thing is, we heard for about 25 minutes from the governor, and he discussed a couple different things that were important. But overall, clearly the devil's in the details. So we need to understand some of the details and the specifics as it deals with the budget. I spent a late night last night understanding and reading a significant more amount of what that budget is and what some of the nuts and bolts are. We'll be having a lot of conversation over the next 4, 6, 8 weeks in order to really understand what those numbers mean. But ultimately, what we need to do is we need to ensure that, like I said previously, government gets off the backs of people. We aren't increasing taxes in any way, shape, or form. We should actually be looking to reduce taxes and reduce spending that's hurting my people in the 10th district.
You mentioned reducing spending. How important is that to your constituents back home, that the budget not be bloated with unnecessary spending?
Yeah, well, I think the difference between government and business, or government and individual households, is just the way that the government goes about their budget process. So the government says, okay, by the way, this happens at the federal level as well. They say, here's what we need to spend, how do we get it? When, as you know, yourself and me and the rest of my constituents, we say, okay, here's what I have, how do I spend it? And I think that we really need to sort of look at the way that relationship exists and figure out what we have today, and then figure out where our priorities would be. A budget address is really just, it's not the money, it's what the money says. So it's really it's a list of those priorities that we need to be putting forth. And those priorities for me are jobs, jobs, and jobs.
Was there anything that stuck out to you as important, or you were surprised to hear during the governor's address, or take it a little further from the leadership response on either side of the aisle?
Yeah, once again, those are sound bites. And, being a person that hasn't been in politics before, I'm interested in what the data tells us, not a 30-second or a 60-second soundbite that you can put up online. So some of the things that I was encouraged of, he talked about reducing waste in government and streamlining processes and not hiring more additional government employees that are in bureaucratic positions. Those are good first steps, but once again, how do we get there? And we also need to make sure that we are investing in areas that produce an overall return on investment. So for example, you look at tourism, for example. Studies currently show that for every dollar that we spend in tourism promotion, we get about $5 back. Now that's a pretty good return on investment.
Absolutely.
If I had that at my farm or any of my other businesses, I'd be putting a couple bucks down on that. That's where we need to be making strong investments rather than spending. And I think there's a difference between the two.
Anything else before we move on, wrap up today's program, that you would like to mention in regards to the budget address?
No, I would say that we're going to go work hard and understand specifically what the details are there. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being part of the process. And every decision that I make along that budget will be, how does that impact people back in Beaver, Butler, and Lawrence County?
The people back in Beaver, Butler, and Lawrence, how can they get in touch with you if they want to offer a suggestion or they need some help? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so the first thing is we have our website, which is Rep Bernstine, REPBERNSTINE.com, and that's our overall website. The other thing is we're very active on Facebook, so we're making 1, 2, 3 posts a day so people know exactly what we're up to. I talked previously about jobs, and jobs. We're posting job opportunities on there. It's sort of think of it as a hub for people in the 10th District, so I would encourage them to go on there and like that page.
All right, Representative Bernstine, thank you so much for taking time out of the busy week to sit down with us today, and look forward to hearing more from you as we continue the budget process.
Thanks so much, Anthony. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for today's program. If you have any questions about what you just seen or any other state government related matter, Representative Bernstine's information will be on the screen in just a moment. Thanks for watching, and please join us again next time for another edition of Legislative Report.